Okay, I have to admit, one of the things that has always held me back from going hardcore with Things 3 is I didn't like the fact that there was no easy way for me to duplicate projects that I use every single time. For example, creating a video is a project that I do every single time in a specific order. In order for me to be able to create a project, I would literally have to create it once, drop it into a template folder to keep it safe. And every time I wanted to use that project, I would have to duplicate that project, drag it out of that template folder, and drop it wherever I wanted to drop it in at, and then begin modifying it. To me, this is a very, very sucky way to have to be able to do something like this. And I feel like it should be built in. But since it's not, I'm going to show you an easy way to be able to create templates inside of Things 3 without having to duplicate it. But more importantly, it's going to extra productivity when it just comes to creating the same project over and over again. So the big question is this: how do small content creators like us who's working 40 to 60 hours a week with their family get a competitive edge and become full-time content creators, starting with no social media following, email list with limited resources? This is the question, and this channel will give you the answers. My name is Will. Welcome to Will Talk Tech. Let's talk about it. Okay, so before I show you the best way to be able to recreate projects inside of Things 3 at the push of a button, we first have to download a few apps. All of them free, don't worry about it. And I'm gonna step you through how to use them as we go. All right, so here we are on my iPad. And I'm using my iPad only because this is a more detailed one than usual. So I want to make sure you see exactly what I'm doing, but understand the actions on my iPad is the exact same on your iPhone or your mini or whatever Apple device you're using. So first things first, I can make this a little bit, I could take this full screen. The first app we're going to use is called Data Jar. Now, Data Jar is going to be this app right here. So if we look at it right here, it's a 100% free app. You can leave a tip if you want to for the developer. I highly recommend you do it. But basically what it allows us to do is to be able to store data or information inside of a jar, and it allows us to pull that information as often as we see fit. That's the first app we're gonna need. The next app we're going to need is going to be shortcuts. So if you don't have shortcuts on your device already, you're just going to type in shortcuts by Apple. It's going to be this icon right here. And again, this is going to this is the app that allows us to pull this off. So you're going to need it. It's 100% free and it rocks. And the final one you're going to need, which I'm pretty sure you already have if you're watching this, is going to be Things 3 or the latest version of Things at the time you're watching this. So you can come here, download Things or Things 4 or whatever things they own. You'll download it here. And this is the to-do app. So those are the three that we need. All right, so right now I'm going to share with you the best way to create templates for shortcuts anytime you need to create a template. Now, what most people are going to tell you to do is to go inside the Shortcuts app and put all your data up in there. But this would be a very big mistake, and I'm going to show you why later on. Not only is that a big mistake, but it's not efficient at all, and it kills your productivity, especially when it getting into trying to find all the different places that you have to fix or clean up or modify or edit. And we'll talk more about that later. But for right now, just understand I'm finna show you the easiest way to do this. And that starts with Data Jar. Let's head over to Data Jar and we can see it right here. And this is Data Jar. Basically, all it is thinking of a jar, and inside that jar, you put information in it. And if you want to pull the information out that jar, you have a special little word that they call a key that allows you to reach in the jar, pull all the information out, and paste it wherever you want it to go. That's the entire thing that Data Jar does. So if we look right here, we can see some that I already got. We can see I even use it for API key. And if we click on add value, it's really easy. We're going to leave it on text. And any text that we put down here, so I can say this is text. Any text that we put down here, we can pull this is text into wherever we want using a special word. So I can say special word. So now when I use this special word, if I could spell. But when I use this special word, basically it pulls this into wherever I place special word at, it's gonna pull it into there. That's in essence how data jar works. So let me show you how I'm using it. You can see right here, I have things 3, H1, and you can see right here, this is the first part of the project, right? Right here is the second part of the project, which is the production. So this is pre-production right here. This is production. And then this is promotion right here. So that's how this works. So if I ever need to come up in here and change something, like maybe I no longer use, let's say, Mastodon or something like that. So I can come over here and I could just take Mastodon out and delete it. And the cool thing about that is I could delete that, and then I still, now anytime I use this, it's going to automatically be updated everywhere it goes. So this is how simple it is to get started with data jar. You can put whatever you want up in there. And if we take a look over here, you can use numbers if you want to. You can use Booleans, which I'm sure you already know. Boolean is just true or false. You can pull files. You can use list. You can even use a dictionary if you want to. You can literally put any type of information up in here you want. Data jar is pretty awesome. So I'm gonna close this out. And now we're gonna head over to shortcuts because that's where all the fun is gonna begin. I'm just gonna stretch that out, make it full screen. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually build this up under the shared folder because these are all the things that I've shared so far. All right, so the very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna click on the plus sign, which is right here. After we clicked on the plus sign, we're gonna actually relabel this. I'm gonna say, I would say allow, but I'm gonna double click on this and what could we call this? Since it's things 3, maybe a checkbox. All right, so I'm gonna pick this one, and I'm gonna pick that, and I'm gonna say rename, and I'm gonna call this, I'm gonna name mine video project. And I'm gonna call it things 3. I like to make my shortcuts as descriptive as possible because when you have a lot of shortcuts, you wanna know what it's gonna do before you hit it. So that's the reason why I like mine to be descriptive. Now, the very first thing I wanna do over here is I can just come over to things and I can click right here. And this is where we're gonna spend a lot of our time at. So the first thing I need to do is I need to create a project. So I'm gonna just drag this up here. And instead of putting a project title, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create Ask for Input. The reason why I wanna use Ask for Input is because I want this project, the new project I create, is going to be based around whatever video I create. So I want to make sure I'm saying ask me each time so the video title and the project title can be the same. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and where it says show and run, I'm just going to turn that off. None of this stuff right here at this specific time really matters to me, so I'm not going to touch any of it. Now, the one thing I can do up under notes, I want to add in an ask for input. You'll see what that do later on in the video, but I want to ask for input right there. The very next thing I need is a headline because once I created the project, that just creates the project. Now what I want to do is I need a headline because I want to start dividing things up. So you can see right here, actually what we're gonna do before we do that, just to make sure you following along, is I'm going to do best practices and I'm gonna say set variable. Set variable just allows me to rename this. That's all it does. So right now, I'm gonna rename this to new project. And as you can see, that's the same thing it got right here, so it's no big deal. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to things. I'm going to say things 3. I'm going to click right here where it says create headline. And right here, what I want to do is I want to click on title where it says creating heading. Okay, so you can see when I dropped it, you can see right here I put phase 1 pre-production, but you can also see it says creating headline in new project. This is new project up here, so I'm creating this headline inside of this project. I want to click right here and I want to turn that off. Now, next thing I want to do just to make sure is I want to actually add in set variable. And the reason why I want to set a variable is because this is going to help me stay consistent. So I'm just going to say headline 1 because I know this is headline 1. And you'll see again why this comes into play later on. So I'm just gonna make sure I'm labeling it properly. The next thing I wanna do is I wanna come over here and I wanna go to data jar. Now, I'm going through here and clicking on the actual app because I want to make sure you can see all the options. But you could actually, I could have just typed in get value and this specific one would have popped up. I would have had to scroll a little bit, but this specific one would have popped up. So what I want to do is I want to get the value. And the value that I want to get is going to be things 3 H1. And the reason why I know it's things 3 H1 is because I labeled it to make it really easy for me. So I'm going to say return. Then after that, I'm going to drop this down, make sure nothing's there to say show and run. It's not. So now I can move on to the next part. Now, the next part of it is I need to use a split. Now, split text, which is right here, if we look at it, it tells you exactly what it does. It says it separate text passed into the action into a list. So right now, if we remember in data jar, and we could just pull up data jar really quickly and take a look at it. If we look right here at this, let's see here. If we just click on this one, we can see all of these are, this is in a list, but what it would do is it would make this the headline and it would take all of these and put these in a note section. And that's not what we want. And that frustrated me for a good little while until I figured out what was going on. So we don't want it to do that. So what we wanted to do is we want it to split into a list. So we're gonna actually use this right here. And as you can see, once we put that in, what we're gonna do is it's gonna automatically do it. You can see it automatically picked up the value and they automatically say new lines. Now, we can say spaces, characters, custom, acts each time, but what we want is new lines. We want each one of these items to be on its own line. And what happens because it's on its own line is it's going to become its own task, which is what we want. Next, what we want to do is we want to come over here and we want to have a repeat action. Now, we want to make sure we do repeats with each because there's more than one item inside this list. And if we click right here, so you can see it says repeat the contained action running them the specified number of times. That's not what we want. What we want is repeat with each, meaning it's going to repeat the action with each item in the list. And now you can see that just by us doing this correctly, it's automatically connecting and dropping things where it go. So this automatically connected to that. And we can see this line going straight all the way down. Next thing we need to do is we want to create, well, actually, I'm not going to shortcut it. We're going to go to things. And the next thing we want to do is create to do, which is right here. And we want to drag that and drop it right in the middle of there. Now, for our create to do, we're not going to create a title. What we're going to do is, you see right here where it says split with each, what we're going to do is we're going to click on this select variable. And we want to make sure we click on repeat item, not repeat index, but we want to click on repeat item. After that point, we're going to say enter, and now it's set up. The last thing we need to do is we need to connect these together. The way we do that is we're going to say right here, we're going to drop down, and the parent is going to be, we're going to hold it so we can select the variable, and the parent is going to be new project. The heading for this specific one, we're going to hold it, and we're going to select the variable, and the heading is going to be right here. So now all of these repeat items is going into this project and is going up under heading 1. Now that's the first part of it done. Now what we want to do is we basically just want to recreate this again. I wish there was a way for us to like duplicate all that we just did, but honestly it's not. And right now it's probably best for repetition. So now what we want to do is we want to do the next part. So now we have to create heading 2, which is the next part of our project. So in order to do that, we're just going to say create. We're going to go back to things 3, and we're going to actually click right here, and we're going to say create heading. That's what we're going to do. We're going to say create heading. Now, we're not going to actually use this, so we're going to clear it because we don't want it to do that. What we want to do is we want to select variable, and the variable we want to select is going to be new project. The title of this one is going to be phase 2 production. And you can see it's already going to be created inside of this project up here. That's the reason why we're linking it up. And remember, we don't know what this project is going to be. It's going to ask for input, and that's when that's going to be created. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set a variable. All right, set variable. We're going to pull that down. And what we're going to do now is we're going to change this to headline 2. because it just makes it easy for us to track it because we have the same items. So we have creating a headline right here, and we also have creating a headline right here. So setting a variable just makes our life a lot easier. And I'll continue to use lowercase with everything since that's what I started with, and I'll just hit return on that. The next thing I want to do is I want to say do nothing. Now this, I'm only putting this up in here because I want you to be able to see what I'm actually doing because it's getting close to the bottom. So that's why I put do nothing up in here. The next one is going to be get value. Well, we're going to go to data jar, and on the data jar you can see right here, this is data jar. Here's everything for data jar, all the actions we can use. And I'm going to grab get value. And for this one, the value is going to be things3, and it's going to be H2. And we have to put this key in exactly the way it is inside of data jar. If not, it will not work. All right, the next thing we're gonna do after we've done that is, you already know, we need to split the text because we want it to have its own individual line, which actually creates an individual text for each item. And we know once we put it in, split value, which is gonna be the value of whatever things3 H2 is, and we put it to by new line. The next thing we're wanting to do is repeat with each. So we can just say repeat, and then we want to do a repeat with each. And now when we come down here, we don't want it to be right there. We actually can delete this right here, and that's gonna close it up, and I'll just drop in another do nothing. I'm gonna paste it in right here. And now what I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to go back to things3, and I'm gonna do create to do. All right, and we want it to be in between repeat. Next, we're going to hold this. We're going to select variable, and we're going to do repeat item. Easy peasy. Next, we're going to come down here. We're going to drop that down. We're going to turn off show and run. We're going to hold parent, and we're going to say select variable. Now, parent is going to be new project, which is, scroll all the way up to the top, and it's going to be new project, because that's the parent. Heading is going to be hold this, select variable. We're working on H2, so the variable is going to be H2. Now I can close that up, and I can come over here just to make sure that I turned all of these show and run off, so that way it doesn't show me when this run. And the last one we need to create is going to be one more part, because we have our pre-production, we have our production, and now we need our promotion. So now what I want to do is I want to come back over to things3, and I should have said an easier way to do this, if you haven't watched my getting started with things3, would be really easy for us to just, if we know we're doing a lot of headlines, we can click right here and we can just simply favorite it, so this will always pop up in our favorites and we don't have to go looking for it. So that's something you can do as well. Now what I want to do is I want to just grab this, drag it, drop it, and I'm gonna actually turn this off. So I'm gonna say clear variable, because we don't want that. We want to create this heading and new project. So we're gonna say select variable, and we're gonna scroll all the way up to the top, and we're gonna say new project. So create heading and new project, and the heading that we want to create this time is going to be phase 3. All right, so now we got phase 3 promotion. We want to set a variable, which is going to be right here. All right, so we don't want that to be there, so we're going to come up here, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this to headline 3. We're going to say return. Now that we got that done, the very next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the value. So we can say data jar. We can say get value, and we're going to drag and drop it right up under there. And we know this one is going to be things3 H3. And I can say return. And then after that, you already know what's next. We're going to split it, split the text, pull it down. We dropped it where we weren't supposed to, so we're going to drop it right there. And we can see that it automatically populates, so we don't have to really fuss around with this. Now we could drop that down just to make sure it's correct. We could drop this down to where it says show and run. I just like to turn that off. You could leave it on if you just want to see what shortcuts is doing as it's doing it. And the next one we're going to do is we're going to do a repeat, but we're going to do a repeat with each as we've done. So I'm going to drop that in, It's gonna automatically do that. And then the last one we're gonna do is we're gonna say create. So that's up under things. And if I did create to do, it will pop up as you can see down here. But when you're first getting started, it's better to just go through the app so you're not confusing yourself. So you can see create to do is right here. And I'm gonna just drop that in the middle. Now what I wanna do is I wanna hold this until I get this. So I'm gonna say select variable. I'm gonna say repeat item. I'm gonna click right here, turn that off. I'm gonna hold choose. I'm gonna say select variable. And I'm gonna come all the way up, all the way to the very top, because we want everything to go inside this project. So I'm gonna say new project. I'm gonna hold this. I'm gonna say select variable. We're working with H3, so I wanna make sure I click H3. And then after that, I wanna close that up. And now we could test this shortcut. All right, so now if I click on play, all right, so I'm gonna click right here where it says add to home screen. And I'm actually gonna get rid of all of the titles and stuff like that. I'm just gonna say add to home screen. Now that we have it right here, I can actually play it from inside of shortcuts or right here. We're gonna play it from right here just because I want you to see how it works. And what I'm gonna do is, I am so happy Apple fixed that glitch. But what I'm gonna do is it's asking me what's the title. I'm gonna say the title is Things 3 and Shortcuts app, all right? I'm gonna say done. Now it's asking me, what is this about? What notes do I need to have for this title? I'm gonna put in a quick note. Okay, so I would like to show how to supercharge Things 3 using Data Jar and Shortcuts app. And down here you can see I put apps needed, Data Jar, Things 3, and Shortcuts app. Now, I put this extra stuff just to show that you can get as specific as you want while you're actually creating that video project. So you can capture all of that information up under your notes. So now I'm just gonna hit done, and I'm gonna say done. And the reason why phase 2 showed up and I had to say done is because I didn't close out of that app. So really quickly, first let's go over to Things 3 and see if it's there. And then after that, we'll go fix that. So if I click right here, this is the Shortcuts app, and you can see this is Things 3, and you can see my notes that I have to myself up here, and you can see my phase 1 project is right here. Phase 2 project is right there, and phase 3 project is right there. And you can see I left open a to do if I wanted to do something else. I could delete that if I want. Now, here's the cool thing about this. Now that I have this, I can be anywhere. So let's just delete this. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this up just because it gives me some text to use. So now what I wanna do is I'm gonna just grab these 3 and I'm gonna delete them. And on this side is where all your projects come. So we're gonna actually close back out of this, and we're gonna actually fix that in H2, I think it was. Yep, so show and run. I wanna turn that off. And now what I wanna do is I want to minimize this. Now what I wanna do is I wanna click right here. And what I wanna do here is I wanna say demo. We could say testing new video project. Say done. Then let's see, I got that same text I already had, so I can paste that up in there, take some of it off. I can say done. And now it should run without showing me any previews or anything like that. And now what I can do is I can open up Things 3. And now when we look over here, we can see it right here. As you can see, this is a much better way to be able to store your projects. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure you give me a thumbs up so I'll know to create more videos just like this one. Okay, so really quickly, let me show you why doing it without Data Jar and doing it directly inside of the shortcut is such a bad idea. What we're gonna do is we're gonna close out of this, and we're going to actually come over here to, let's see here where it says video ideas. And we're gonna come to, this is Things 3 with Data Jar. This is Things 3 without Data Jar. This is how it would look if we did it this way. Now, I'm gonna play this just to show you it will work. Like, it works just fine. So I'm just gonna put anything just so you can see. I'm gonna put anything down here just so you can see. I'm gonna say done. And if we go over to Things 3, after it finished running, we can look right here and we can see it's the exact same thing. It ran perfectly fine. I probably didn't finish building it out because I just wanted to demo it just to show you. So that's the reason why that part didn't come up. So we can come back over here and we can just scroll down and see. Yeah, you can see right here where, let's see here, H3. Okay, so H3 is here. So if that happens to you, then that means this isn't connected to H3. And the easy way to connect it is to come down here and we can see new project. We can see H3 is, okay, so basically where it says repeat with each item, let's see here, we're gonna clear this variable. We're gonna hold this, select variable, and we're gonna scroll all the way back down. We're gonna click on repeat item and we can see H3. Let's see here, clear variable. We're gonna hold this, select variable, and the variable that we want to select is going to be H3. All right, now if we scroll up here, we can see that H1 is working just fine. And if we click right here, we can see, all right, H1 is working, and we can see H2 is working, and parent is going to be right here. So I'm going to say select variable, and I'm going to come back all the way to the top just to make sure I got the right one, all the way to the top, all the way to the top, and it's going to be a new project. All right. Now, I think it's interesting that if you look over here at these right here, oh, okay, these say new project as well. All right, so I'm going to play this again, and now I'm just going to say whatever this is and whatever this is, and I'm going to say done. All right, and now I'm going to say done, and promotion showed because promotion is turned on. So if I don't want that on, I just come over here to promotion, which I think is this one right here. Let's see here, where is it? Promotion is right here, and just turn it off. All right. Now what I want to do is minimize window, and I can pull up this one right here, click it, and we can see all of the, now we can see promotion is right here too. We can see those here, whereas it wasn't there in that one, but that's how it's done. And I'm gonna actually just delete all of these just so I don't forget to do it later. Now, here's the deal. Let's say we wanted to fix something. We would literally have to come into this shortcut to do it. But the problem is if I decide to duplicate this project and use it someplace else, because it's not unrealistic to duplicate your shortcuts to use other places. So if I duplicate this, it's really simple. I just come over here, right click, duplicate. Now I have two instances of this. And if I'm using this list, then I have to go to each instance of it that I have and change it individually, versus if I just have it in one place, which is data jar, I just go to that one place, change it, and I can rest assured moving forward, all of my changes will show up because I only change it in that one place. This is why I don't think it's the best idea to create it inside of shortcuts. You should put all your data inside a data jar, and you should use data jar get value to pull all your data into shortcuts. And honestly, it's just a way cleaner look too, because I mean, look at this. Like this right here is super clean compared to this right here. This right here to me looks overwhelming. It's like, okay, what is all of this going on? And then the fact that it's so long and you got to keep scrolling down, it's just, I just don't like it. I like the cleanness of this right here because this clearly shows me what everything is doing, and it's super easy. Now that you know how to create projects inside of Things 3 without having to use that duplicate button, the next thing you're going to want to learn how to do is how to capture your ideas and tasks into Things 3 really quickly without opening up the app, getting distracted. And that's what this video right here teaches you how to do. I'll meet you there.